Hi, how are you? My name is Anna and welcome to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to cover the second part of the Mosaic Chart Directory for Knitting and Crochet. And today we will cover Mosaic Crochet, Inset and Overlay Mosaic Crochet to be precise. Now, years ago, quite a few years ago now, I did do a video explaining how to work Inset Mosaic Crochet. Of course, I didn't call it Inset Mosaic Crochet because I didn't know. I just called it Mosaic Crochet because that's the only type of crochet I knew then. I didn't know about overlay. So I'm going to cover, I will link the video below in the description box if you want to have a look. But today I will start with explaining what is the difference between inset and overlay, and of course start with the inset, and then the last part will be the overlay. In the book, I have used all swatches are done in inset, but of course I do give you explanation on how to convert everything into, let me just find it, into overlay and Tunisian crochet. So I try to cover everything in the book that you will possibly need. So let me just put the camera overhead so you can see my hands, and let's get started. If you are wondering why the color of my nails has changed, is because I had to re-record this part of the video. So that's why my nails are different color now. One thing I forgot to mention also in the intro is that I will also show you how to convert your inset chart to overlay charts, okay? So I will do that at the end. So as I mentioned before, in the book I have used Inset Mosaic Crochet. So you've got the knitted swatches and Inset Mosaic Crochet. The reason is because the charts are the same for knitted and Inset Mosaic Crochet, and they do not need to be adjusted. But you know, inset is a wonderful technique and I love it because it's wonderful when you're creating something that needs shaping and you don't want, or you don't want to have massive amount of ends everywhere. They are both amazing techniques and I love them both equally. But before we start with the techniques, let's look at the differences first. So the swatch on top is overlay Mosaic Crochet and the swatch at the bottom is Inset Mosaic Crochet. The first difference you will notice in the swatches is the difference in height. Both swatches have the same number of stitches and the same number of rows, but obviously the height difference is quite substantial. The reason is because in overlay, each row is worked once, and in inset, each row is worked twice. So you will work inset on the right side and the wrong side, where overlay is only worked on the right side. And also the second difference is all those ends on overlay. As you start and finish each row, you will create those ends. They are not a problem. You can trap them into an envelope border, or you can weave them in as you go. Now let's look at the charts. This one is inset chart and this one is overlay. If you look at the inset, you will see that both, so the right side and the wrong side has row numbers. This means that we will work in rows, so each row will be repeated twice. On the right side, you will read it from right to left, on the wrong side from left to right. If you are left-handed, you will do the opposite. See, so ultimately, each row is worked twice. This is what gives us the height. In an overlay one, you will see all the row numbers are on the right side, which means you will only work from right to left on every single row. So you will start here and you end here by cutting your yarn and fastening off. And again, you start back here. And also you will notice that some squares have the letter F. This stands from front loop treble 2 rows down. I'm using UK terms. In US, it will be front loop double crochet 2 rows down. Now, my book is written in US terms, but obviously translations are given to you in abbreviation list. So now that we know the most obvious differences in between those two techniques, let's start with inset. So as we mentioned before, in an inset mosaic, we will work each row twice. What is very important to remember, that the first column and the last column are the salvage stitches. They do not form part of the pattern, however they are still worked. The salvage stitches are also color indicators. So the first and the last box indicates which color you will work for that row. So for the ease of everything, I would advise you to choose light color for color A, which would be the light boxes, and dark color for color B, which will be the dark boxes. So as you can see, the row number 1 and 2 are both done in B, which means that we will work in color B for the next 2 rows. And color 3 and color A is rows 3 and 4, which means we will work in color A for those 2 rows. What is not shown on chart is a foundation row. So you always have to work a foundation row, which is the opposite color to what your first 2 rows are. So on this chart, the first 2 rows are color B, which means we will work a foundation row in color A. So that will also match the ending of our chart. You see, so that will create a nice little effect. So you can see it on this swatch. The foundation row is here and the end row is here, and it kind of brings it all together really nicely. The foundation row, I always do it in Chainless Foundation double crochets, US single crochets, because I find it far more useful. It gives me a nice stretch, it's not too bulky, and it just looks really nice. So we're gonna start with that. So I'm gonna show you first how to work the Chainless Foundation double crochet, US single crochet. What you will need is two colors of yarn. I'll be using cream for the light boxes, kind of like rust orange for the dark squares. To work your chainless foundation, you obviously will start with the slip knot and 2 chains, not too tight. I'm gonna move this out of the way because I think the camera will focus a bit better. So you see, you have made your chain. So your chains form a beautiful V at the front. If you turn them on the side, you will see that each V has a bump here at the back. You see, we're going to insert a hook into the first bump, the bump of the first chain that we have made. We're going to go yarn around the hook and pull it through this bump. We have 2 loops on hook, yarn around the hook, pull it through 1 loop, and yarn around the hook, pull it through both. And that has created a beautiful V on top, and that is our first stitch. From now on, we will look on the side of our stitch, you see, so this is the top and this is the side. And if you have a look, a little bit down, there is a strand here, and behind it, there is a second strand. We're going to insert a hook under both of those strands, you see, so it's this kind of V. If I show you what it looks like at the back, you see, so it's this kind of like a twist at the back here. We're going to insert a hook under both of those strands of that twist. Go yarn around the hook and pull it through those 2 loops. We have 2 loops on hook, yarn around the hook through 1, and yarn around the hook through 2. You see, and that is our second stitch. And again, if we look at the back, we've got its first twist, it is this one. So first twist from top is this one. So we're going to insert a, you can also look, the first longest strand. We're going to insert a hook underneath this strand and the one behind it. See? 2 strands. Yarn around, pull it through those 2 strands. Yarn around the hook, pull it through 1 loop, and yarn around the hook, pull it through both. So now I've got 1, 2, 3. We've got 3 lovely stitches. And again, the long loop is here. We're gonna insert it into that strand and the one behind it as well. Yarn around, pull it through, yarn around through 1, and yarn around through 2. You see? So one more time, you see? So if you look at the first longest strand on the side, which is this one here, if you look at the back, it's the first twist from top. See, so you've got the kind of like 2 strands here, and the kind of, oops, you've got the kind of 2 strands here, and they kind of twist, one twist over the other. So that's where we are inserting our hook. Yarn around the hook through those 2 strands, 2 loops on hook, yarn around the hook through 1, and yarn around the hook through both. And on top, this is where our stitches are formed. So our stitches have those gorgeous V's. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 V's all together, and we have to I'm going to make 11 plus I'm going to make 19 stitches. That will give me a full pattern repeat plus 1 more additional one. See, because whatever is in the red box, it's a pattern repeat. Okay, so this is where your pattern is formed. So if you want your pattern to be repeated however many times, you need to increase the stitch count, but by whatever number is in the red box. For me, this is 8. I want to have 2 pattern repeats, so I'm going to make 19 Chainless Foundation single crochets, UK double crochets. So I'm going to get on with that, and I'll see you in a minute when all those Chainless Foundations are done. So when I've got most of the stitches done, I will stop on the last stitch, on the last stage of that stitch, when I've got 2 last loops left on hook, and I am going to finish off that stitch with the new collar. Simply place that collar on your hook and finish off the stitch with the new collar. This is a nicest and neatest way to change your collar. So we're going to chain 1 because that will give us the correct height, and we are ready for our next row. Now you can see here where we carry our yarns, you see, so we will never cut them off on every single row. We will carry them with them as we work. So we will always end up on this side. If you are left-handed, it will be this side, and we will simply switch our collars and work our next row. So no yarns are cut at any point. They are all carried with us. So in Inset Mosaic Crochet, you will work with 2 stitches and chains only. So the 2 stitches are double crochet, US single crochet, and Mosaic treble, which is US double crochets. So if you look at our chart, so now we are on row 1 in our dark collar. So for me, this is collar B. And I will work my first 3 stitches, because they are just plain black squares. I will work them in double crochet, US single crochet, because they are simply dark squares and I am on a dark row. When I come to white square, because I am on a dark row, I need to omit this, which means I will chain 2, miss the next stitch, and work my next stitch as a double crochet, US single crochet, because it's a dark box and I am on a dark row. So I will work all the stitches in dark color because I am on a dark row, and omit the white ones. I will omit them by chaining 2 and missing it. The reason we are chaining 2 and missing 1 stitch, because if we chain only 1, it will pull our work too tight. If you are missing 2 stitches, then you will chain 3 and miss 2 stitches. If you are missing 3 stitches, you will chain 4 and miss 3 stitches. So you always add a chain, because if you do not, your work will pull really tightly. So let me just show you what it means in practice. We've got our first stitch here. So 1, 2, 3. Our first 3 stitches. This is a dark row. These are the dark squares, and we will just simply double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. All single crochet in US. Let's pull those tight a little bit. Now we come to our light squares. Because we are on a dark row, we have to omit this one. So what we will do, we will chain 2 and miss the next stitch. But because our following stitch is dark square and we are on a dark row, we will double crochet here or single crochet. Simply just double crochet into the next stitch. You see, so that created a space. So this is this space here. Our next stitch is, again, it's a light square and we are on a dark row. So we are going to chain 2 and miss that stitch. And then if we look at that pattern, we have 1, 2, 3, 3 dark squares before we reach the end of our red box. Yeah, so we've got 1, 2, 3, so we will work 3 double crochets. 1, so obviously we're going to omit that stitch, so 1, 2 and 3. See, so if we look at our work, it should represent our chart perfectly. So we've got our 3 stitches, we've got 3 stitches here, we should have a space, we have a space, stitch, yes, space, yes. You see? So now we are at the end of our red box, which is a pattern repeat. So if we want to repeat a pattern, we have to go back to the beginning of the red box, which is here. So the first 2 stitches in our red box at the beginning are 2 dark squares, which means we are going to double crochet or single crochet, 1, 2, oopsie daisy, and again we come to our white squares, which means chain 2, miss a stitch, dark square, double crochet, white square, chain 2, miss a stitch, and then we're going to double crochet all the way to end because our repeat is finished. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, so now we are going to turn our work to work on the wrong side, and now we're going to read the chart from left to right. And again, we're going to do exactly the same thing that we've done on a previous row, which means we're going to work a double crochet, a single crochet into every single stitch, which is a dark square. We're going to chain 2 and miss the chain 2 space that we have created and work a stitch in every single stitch. So we're going to first of all chain 1 because it gives us the correct height of our stitch, and we're going to work 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches. So just follow your work. You should have 5 stitches before you reach your first chain 2 space. And now we've got chain 2 space, which means we're going to chain 2 and miss that space and work a stitch into our next stitch. We have a space again, we're going to chain 2 and miss that space and work a stitch into every single stitch until again we come to our chain space. We're going to chain 2, miss this one, work the next stitch, chain 2, miss this one, and work the last 3. 1, 2, 3. And before we finish off our last stitch, stop when you have 2 loops on hook, grab your yarn, your new color, your light color, and finish off that stitch with the new color. So that way we are ready for our next row with the new color. And we're going to chain 1 to give us the correct height and lock it in place. And now we are ready for our next row, which for us will be row number 3. Now what I suggest you get is a washi tape, because washi tapes are very good because they don't tear off your paper. Well, some of them don't, but most even if they do, is not a lot. And to mark your rows in Mosaic Crochet, I always prefer to mark them above the row I'm working on. So I'll be working on row number 3, but I will mark it on a 5th. I will mark it above it. So all the stitches are exposed to where I need to go down. It will become clear as we work in the next row. So now, as you can see, we will be on a light row, and things get a bit more interesting here. So when we have, this is a salvage stitch. So basically, as you remember, the first and the last stitches are salvage stitches. And both of those columns indicate which color we will be working on for those rows. When we have a light square on dark square, we will double crochet, US single crochet. When we have a dark square on dark square, because we are on a light row, we will chain 2 and miss a stitch. But when we have light square on light square and we are on a light row, we will mosaic treble, US mosaic double. Okay, so light square on dark square, we are on a light row, we will double crochet. So 1, oopsie daisy, 1 and 2. And now we come to our dark square on dark square. And again, because we are on a light row, we will chain 2 and miss this stitch. So chain 2 and we will be missing the next stitch. But straight away, you can see after the miss stitch, we have a chain 2 spaces. So what this means that we will place a mosaic treble into the miss stitch. See, so that will be the light square on light square here. So we will place a mosaic treble, US mosaic double. So this mosaic treble will always be worked into the row of the same color, and it's always worked into the miss stitch. So to work a mosaic treble, so you're going to go yarn around the hook, insert your hook into the top of the miss stitch, but bring the hook forward so it is placed in front of those chain spaces. You see? Then you're going to go yarn around and pull it through. You've got 3 loops on hook, yarn around the hook through 2, and yarn around the hook through 2. And as you can see, this treble is placed in front of those chain spaces. And of course, what we will do, we will miss those chain spaces now, so we don't worry about them anymore. And we will work, and we will look at the chart, what's happening next. So we have done this so far. So our next stitch is light square on dark square, which means we will work a double crochet or US single crochet. So work a double crochet into this stitch. And again, you can see from your work, the next thing that comes is those chain spaces, which means we're going to have to place a treble here. And again, yarn around the hook, insert the hook into the top of the miss stitch and bring the hook forward. So it's in front of those chains, because we want this treble to be placed in front of those chains. Yarn around the hook, pull it through the stitch, 3 loops on hook, yarn around the hook through 2, and yarn around the hook through 2. You see? So you can see now that what we are creating is just like on the chart. You see, we created this kind of effect, and it's exactly the same on the chart. So the next stitch is dark on dark square, and we are on a light row, which means we're going to chain 2 and miss the next stitch. And the next 2 stitches in a pattern repeat box are light on dark squares, which means we're going to double crochet, US single crochet. So chain 2, miss the next stitch. Be very careful not to mistake those chain spaces behind for a stitch. We don't want to work into them. We want to work into the full stitches. Tilt your work forward a little bit so you can see the top of those stitches if you are unsure. So, oh no, I'm missing that stitch, sorry. So I'm missing that one and then working 2 into the next 2 stitches. Okay, so 1 into the next 2 stitches. And then we are at the end of a pattern repeat and we go to the beginning of a pattern repeat. And a pattern repeat begins with light square on dark square, which means it's a double crochet, US single crochet. And then dark on dark square, we are on a light row, so that's going to be chain 2 and miss a stitch. And if we have done everything correctly on previous rows, we should have now chain 2 spaces after the miss stitch. Perfect. So again, we're going to place a treble in top of those stitches, bring the hook forward, yarn around and finish off your treble as normal, making sure that this treble is placed in front of those chains. And again, next stitch is light square on dark square, which means it's a double crochet. And then we should have another treble, which we do here. Yarn around the hook, into the stitch, bring the hook forward in front of those chains, and finish off your treble US double as normal. And then again, chain 2 and miss a stitch, and the rest is light on dark squares, which means we are going to double crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4 of our double crochet, because we are finishing our row now. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. Perfect. See? So you can see we are creating something that looks exactly as our chart. We're going to turn, chain 1, and we are ready for our wrong side row. So our wrong side row is worked from left to right. Obviously, if you are left-handed, there will be the other way round. And we will again work a stitch into every single stitch and chain 2s and miss those chain 2s from previous rows. When we come to our trebles, we will now work a double crochet or US single crochet into top of those trebles. So we have to work a double crochet into top of those trebles. So if we look at our work, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochets. So yeah, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then we've got chain space, so that's chain 2 and miss those chain 2 spaces. Perfect, there you go. And we've got the and we're missing those, and then we come to our treble. Now those trebles, you see, as you look at your doubles, you see here, they are very visible where those doubles are. Your trebles are not, because they are placed in front of those chains. So you need to tilt your work towards you a little bit to see those trebles, to make sure you work a double crochet, US single crochet into those trebles. So 1, then we've got a normal, 2, and we've got another treble here. Again, tilt it forward, you will see your treble and work a double into this treble. When I say double, I mean UK double and US single. When I say treble, it's UK treble, US will be double, okay? Because it's getting quite confusing saying the two abbreviations at the same time, but you know, hope you know what I mean. And then we're going to come to our chain 2, which we need to chain 2 as well, miss those chain 2 spaces, and now we've got one more stitch before the end of our pattern repeat, and then we go to the beginning of our pattern repeat on the wrong side. So we've got 2 double crochets, chain 2 and miss the chain 2, and then we should have a treble, double treble, which are these ones here. So tilt them towards you and you will see, and we're going to work a double crochet, US single crochet, and again chain 2, and we're going to work our last 2 stitches here. And then before we finish off our last stitch, stop when you've got 2 loops, grab your contrast and finish off the stitch in your contrast so you are ready for your next row. Okay, so this is our work so far. We're going to chain 1 to give us the correct height, and now we are ready. Oopsie daisy. To work rows 5 and 6. Row 5 and 6, we're going to be working with our dark color. As you can see, our salvage stitches are indicating this, that we are on the dark color row now. So now everything works in a very similar way, but obviously with the dark color being the main one. So when we've got a dark color, dark square on light square, it means we will double crochet, US single crochet. So let's do the first one. We've got a chain 1 already. double crochet. Now we come to light square on light square, but because we are on a dark row, we will chain 2 and miss this stitch. So chain 2 and miss the next stitch. And then we immediately, you can see that we've got our chain spaces. So looking at our chart, we are on a dark, the next stitch is dark square on dark square. Because we are on a dark row, we will make mosaic treble, US mosaic double. So we're going to miss this stitch because we are missing this one here. And we're going to place a treble into the missed stitch from 2 rows below into the row of the same color. So we're going to work into the top of that stitch, yarn around the hook and pull it through, and finish off your treble as normal. And again, placing this treble in front of those chain spaces, you see? So that's what we have created now. Then we look at the next 3 stitches, and they are all dark on light, which means that we will double crochet, US single crochet, because there's nothing following from that. So we're just gonna do 3, 2 and 3, so that our 3 double crochets, US single crochets. And then we come to dark square on dark square, and again, because we are on a dark row, that will be a treble. So we're going to work, and we should have already our chain 2 spaces ready for us. So we're going to go yarn around the hook, and again into the missed stitch of the row of the same color. Insert your hook, bring it forward, and finish off your stitch as normal. You see, so if you look, we are creating what is represented on the chart, you see? So we are creating this kind of like a bridge, and we have created this bridge here with the light bridge in the middle. And this is exactly what we have. The charts are basically the visual representations of what you are making. So then, oh, I've got her here. So then our next stitch is light square on light square. And again, because we are on a dark row, we will chain 2 and miss a stitch. And miss the next stitch. Again, make sure you don't confuse the chain spaces with the stitch. It has to be a full stitch that you are missing. And our next stitch is dark square on light square, which means that we will make a double crochet. You were single. And that will bring us to the end of our repeat box. So we need to go to the beginning of our repeat box, and that begins with light square on light square, which means chain 2 and miss a stitch because we are on a dark row. So we're gonna do chain 2, and again we should immediately have chain spaces to place our treble in front of. And again in front of those chains, and then 1, 2, 3 dark square on light squares, which means we will be double crocheting. You were single crocheting 1, 2, 3, and we have our lovely little chain spaces, which means that we will place a treble here. And then chain 2, miss a stitch, dark square on light square means we're going to miss the stitch and work a double, you a single, and then again we have light square on light square, we are on a dark row, we were gonna chain 2 and miss a stitch and work our salvage stitch as double crochet into the last stitch. So chain 2, miss, and double crochet, you a single into last. Turn your work. So we are ready for our wrong side row, chain 1, and now we will work row 6. So we will read this from left to right. Again, if you are left-handed, it will be the opposite way. So on the wrong side, again, we will do exactly the same thing. So we will work a stitch, a double crochet, you will single crochet into every single stitch. Doesn't matter if it says double crochet from a previous row or a treble. It will be a double crochet into every single stitch. And we will work chain twos and miss those stitches that we have missed. So our first one is a stitch, then you've got chain two, we're going to work that. We've got a stitch, so a double crochet here, chain two, and again, make sure, so we are here now, make sure that you work those trebles. So each treble has to have a stitch, so tilt them forward so you can see where your treble is, and make sure you work a stitch into every single one of those trebles, because those trebles on the wrong side are not visible as the double crochets are. Again, chain two, work a stitch here, chain two, and you can see we've got a treble here. I think there's one here as well. You see one here, then we've got chain two and one last stitch here. And before we finish off our row, chain one, and we are ready for our next row. You see, so we've got all those chain spaces now. So if we look at our next row, which will be row number 7, we will be on our light row. And again, because it's a light row, when we've got light square on dark square, we will double crochet. When we've got light square on light square, we will treble. When there is, again, dark square on dark square, because we are on a light row, we will chain two and miss that, because we are on a light row. So basically, we are not interested in dark squares on a light row. We will only work what is a light square. The same thing happens when you are on a dark row. You will not work any light squares. You will only work the dark squares. So the first stitch is double crochet. That's our salvage stitch. We've got chain one already. And then you can see on your work that our next stitches are chain spaces, and our next column is light on light square. We are on a light row, which means we are going to be placing a treble, a US double. You see? Then we have two light squares on dark squares, which means a double crochet, US single crochet. And now we've got dark square on dark square. We are on a light square. We're not interested in it. So we're going to chain two and miss a stitch. Chain two and miss the following stitch. And then the following two stitches are light squares on dark squares. We are on a light row, which means it's a double crochet. And then we come to our chain spaces. And again, we've got light square on light square, which means it's a treble, US double. So yarn around, place this treble. You see, it goes in the row of the same color, into the missed stitch of the same color, because that's how it joins. That's how this wonderful kind of work is created, by joining all those rows with those trebles, US doubles. And then our last stitch here of our pattern repeat is dark on dark square, so we're going to chain two and miss it because we are on a light row. And then we are back at the beginning of our pattern repeat, which starts with the lovely treble, US double. So we're going to work one here, and then again repeating the same thing. Oops. Two stitches here, two double crochets, US single, 1, 2, dark on dark square. We are on the light row, so that simply is chain two and miss. So we're going to miss this stitch here. The following one is light on dark square, which means it's a double, you a single. 1, 2, and then we come to our chain spaces, which means we have to place a treble, US double, and that's what it's here. Yarn around, place a double, treble here or double. Then we come to this, which is a dark on dark square, which means chains 2 and miss, and then we're going to place a treble here and a double in the last one. Well, turn and chain 1. So now we are on a wrong side row and we're going to work row number 8. And again, as before, we will do exactly the same thing as what we've done on a previous row, apart from placing those trebles, US doubles. So we are going to work a stitch into every single stitch and chain 2 and miss the chain spaces that we have created on a previous row. So we don't even have to look at our chart. I mean, you get to this point that you won't have to look. You simply follow what's there already. So 1, tilt forward. You see, you've got a treble here. So work a double into this one. Chain 2, miss. That's your space. And then look on top. What you have is 3 stitches here. So 1, 2 and 3. Come to your chain space, chain 2, miss that chain space, tilt forward, see what stitches you have, and place a double US single into every single one of those stitches. Space, chain 2, and again a stitch into every single one of those stitches. Chain 2, and then a stitch into every single one of them. Swap your colors. Chain 1, and we are ready for our next pattern repeat. Now what happens now, because if you, as you see, we have reached the end of our red box of our rows, you see. So what we will simply do, if we want to repeat obviously more and more and more, we will go back to row number 1, where we will again repeat whatever is in the box, and you will continue to do that until you have the length of work you desire. You will repeat the rows that are in a red box and finish off your work completely. When you are ready to finish off, you will finish with the last 4 rows. So when we go back to the beginning of a pattern repeat, so when you look at your row 1, we obviously have nothing underneath it. So you may ask, oh my god, Anna, where do I place all the treble? You can of course look at row number 9, because this is kind of, you know, it's a continuation of that one. But that will not always be there. Not all patterns have the last row as continuation. So what you have to do is look at where you have your chain spaces. Every chain space in Inset Mosaic Crochet has to have a treble in front of it. Otherwise, it will be just gappy spaces, and that's not what we want. So the easiest way to see where we have to place our trebles, UK doubles, is in front of those chain spaces that we have already created. And to create new chain spaces, you will just look at your pattern. So if we look at our pattern, our first 3 stitches are double crochets. If we look at our work, our first 3 will be double crochets because we don't have any chain spaces anywhere. So let's work those first 3 as double crochet, you single crochet. Then we come to our chain space. We have a stitch, because we are on a dark row and this is a light square, we're going to chain 2 and miss that stitch, and then we come to our chain spaces. If we look at our next stitch, this is a dark box, and we are going to place a treble here, US double, because we want to cover those chain spaces. So again, we're gonna place our treble into the missed stitch from the row of the same color and place this treble in front of those chain spaces. Okay? And then the next box is light box, so we have to chain 2 and miss a stitch. And then we've got three stitches here. They are all dark stitches, but if we look at our work, so we're missing this stitch here, and we've got 2 normal and chain spaces, which means that we're going to have to place a treble US double on this, on the third of those 3 stitches. So we're missing this one. We're going to go 1, 2, and place your stitch in front of those chain spaces. See? So now we are at the end of our repeat. We're going at the beginning, and we have 2 dark squares. So that will be 2 normal stitches. Then we've got a light square, which means chain 2 and miss. That one. And this one, because we've got a chain space here, it's going to be a treble. Light square, chain 2 and miss. And as before, we're going to have 2 double crochet US single and 1 treble. So miss this stitch, 2, and then placing a treble US double. And then if you look at your last stitches, they are just plain stitches. There is no white stitches here. We're just going to work a double US single. Turn, chain 1, and you are ready for your wrong side row. And again, work the same way, work a stitch into every single stitch and chain space and miss every single chain space. So making sure that you don't omit any of those trebles, US doubles, because they must be worked into as well. Chain 2, and you see I have a stitch here, so that has been worked into. Space, chain 2, and then work a stitch into every single one. Space. And change, and you are ready for your next row. Now, and that's it really. And then you just repeat over and over again until your work is the desired length. When you wish to finish your work, you will work row 11. I will work only row 11. I wouldn't work row number 12. The reason is because you want your end row to be the same as your beginning row. So you wanted the same thickness. So as I showed you on the swatch, this is your beginning and this is your end. You want them in the same thickness because it just looks a lot nicer. So on the last row, you will not work any chain spaces, as you can see here, and no chain spaces at all are worked here because you want nice and smooth finish. So you will only place trebles where there are chain spaces made on previous rows, but you will not create any on the last row. So it will be just a smooth row. It's just a finishing row, filling up row. So you will work a double crochet, US single crochet into every single stitch, and a mosaic treble, US mosaic double into every single space, and that's it. And then you will just fasten off and your work will be complete. I hope that was clear. If you do have any question about Inset Mosaic Crochet, please do ask them in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And now let's get on with an overlay mosaic crochet. So let me explain to you the rules of overlay mosaic crochet. It is worked quite differently. So first of all, you will see that the row numbers are only on the right side, which means that our chart is always read from right to left on every single row. If you are left-handed, from left to right. Your salvage stitches stay the same. These are the color indicators, which color we will use per each row. Each row is worked only once. We will start our rows with a standing double crochet, standing single crochet in US, and we will finish them off at the end. So we will always work on the right side. We do not have to worry about chaining or missing stitches. You will work into the back loop of every single stitch. So you will work a double crochet into the back loop, US single crochet into the back loop of every single stitch, apart from the ones when they are marked with F. The ones that are marked with F, this is where we will place our trebles. So this will be our front loop treble 2 rows down. So in US, that's front loop double 2 rows down. The salvage stitches will be worked into the full stitch. So you will work a double crochet, US single crochet into the both leg of the stitch. But everything else will be worked into the back loop unless you have an F. Okay? This will become a lot clearer when we do it, I promise you. So we will start with our Chainless Foundation again, but this time we will not change color. We will simply cut our yarn. I've got one, as you can see, already made. Yarn around and pull it through and tighten. And now we are going to start at the beginning of our Chainless Foundation. So grab your contrast and I will show you how to work standing double crochet, US standing single crochet. So as I mentioned before, the salvage stitches will be worked in a double crochet. Very often, when you need to place an envelope border, you will add on a few more salvage stitches, no more than 3, I think, because 4 will be a bit too much. Envelope border is basically a border that, well, it's an envelope border. It's a border on both sides. It encloses all the ends and salvage stitches, so it gives you a very neat finish. But for an envelope border, you need a bit more width on each end, which means you will add, you will basically have 2 or 3 salvage stitches in total on each end. But for this is just a small swatch and we don't need, the 1 salvage stitch on each end is absolutely fine. So you've got your foundation row, make a slip knot in your contrast yarn, place it on your hook and tighten, and simply insert your hook into the very first stitch on the right side. Grab your yarn and pull it through. 2 loops on hook, yarn around the hook and pull it through both. So this is our standing double crochet, US single crochet. So this is a fantastic way of starting a row. So if we look at our pattern now, so we are on a dark row and we've got stitches here. We have no, so you see, don't worry about the white boxes here. Unless they have an F, they are not important to us. So basically what it means, because we don't have any F in this row at all, what it means that we're going to work double crochet into the back loop of every single stitch to the last one. So in the last one, we will work it into the both legs of that stitch. So that's double crochet in UK, US, that's a single crochet into the back loop of every single stitch. So if you look at your stitch forms a beautiful V. It has a front leg and a back leg. We will work into the back leg. So we insert a hook into the back loop of the stitch, yarn around, and finish off your double crochet, US single crochet as normal. into the back loop. You see, so now what we have the front loop here. So you can see our front loop just lying there. We don't need to use them, we will just work into the back loop, and we will work into every single stitch to end, because we don't have any, none of our boxes are marked with F, so we don't have to worry about it at all. So it will be just double crochet, US single crochet into the back loop of every stitch until the last one, because the last one will be work as a full stitch. See, one more, and now we come to our last one, and we will simply insert a hook onto the both leg of the last stitch and finish off your stitch as normal. And now cut your yarn, giving yourself a nice length, not too much, but it has to be given. If you were to do an envelope border, you will tie them all together into a knot and trim them. So you do want a bit of a length, but not too much, not to waste too much yarn. Then yarn around, pull it through and tighten, just so it doesn't unravel. See? So that is our first row done. As you can see, it looks incredibly different from our inset because we don't have any chain spaces or anything. But now we will start our row number 2. So let me grab some of my washi tape. Place my washi tape to nicely expose the row number 2 and row below, but cover everything above. So grab your main collar, your light collar, and again we're going to start our very first stitch. You see, we are now on the light row. We're going to start our very first stitch with a standing double crochet, US single crochet. Again, make a slip knot. Insert your hook into the full leg of the stitch, of the very first stitch, yarn around. Let's pull this one a little bit over. 2 loops on hook, yarn around and pull it through both. Perfect, you see, so that's our very first stitch. So now we come to our light boxes on dark boxes and dark boxes on dark boxes. Because we are on overlay, we don't worry about it. So both of those stitches are double crochet into the back loop, US single crochet into the back loop. So even though we are on a light row, we don't worry about this stitch here because it doesn't have an F. We only care about the stitches that have an F. Everything else, it's worked into the back loop of every single stitch. So 1 and 2. So that's UK double crochet back loop, US single crochet back loop. Only into the back loop, so your front loops are exposed. So now we come to the square marked F, and we are on the light row, and this is light box on light box with an F, which means that we will place a treble, US double, into the front loop of the corresponding stitch into the row of the same color. So you're going to go yarn around the hook. You see, this is our stitch and this is the stitch. This is the corresponding front loop 2 rows down. We're going to insert a hook from below up under this loop. Grab your yarn and pull it through. 3 loops on hook and finish your stitch as normal. You see? So we have placed our treble in front of the stitch of our next stitch. See, so the stitch here, we don't worry about the stitch anymore. It stays behind this treble, US double here. So our next stitch has no F or anything, so that will be a double crochet into the back loop, US single crochet into the back loop. So you see, so this is our next stitch, which is nice and full. We're going to work a double crochet into the back loop. And again, we come to our F. So again, we need to, because we are on a light row, this is a light row, this is a light box on light box, it has an F. We're going to have to place the treble into the front loop of the row of the same color. So again, insert your hook from under in of the front loop, yarn around, and then finish off your stitch as normal. You see? So again, the chart represents exactly what we are making. You see, so we created the little light bridge, and we have created a light bridge in our work. Okay, so now we are on the light row. We don't worry about the dark boxes here, and we don't have any boxes marked F anymore. So we're going to work 1, 2, 3. So we're going to work 3 stitches, 3 double crochet into the back loop, US single crochets into the back loop, and that will bring us to the end of our repeat box, which means we're going to go at the beginning again, and our first 2 stitches again are just double crochet into the back loop, or single crochet if you use the US terms. And again we come to our F. We've got light box on light box marked F, which means it will be a treble or US double. Yarn around. We will enter a hook into the front loop of the row of the same color and finish off your stitch. The next one is just back loop, and then we've got a treble again or US double into the front loop, see, and now we are going to be at the end of our work, and again we don't see any more boxes marked F, which means we're going to work a double crochet or US single crochet into the back loop of the next 4 stitches, making sure that the last stitch, the salvage stitch, is worked into the full legs of the stitch. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, and again the last stitch we're going to go in the 2 legs, yarn around, work a stitch, and then cut your yarn, oops, yarn around and pull it through and tighten. So that's our first 2 rows done, you see. So we've got a foundation, our first, which is the dark row, and then the light row on top, you see, and we've created those little like bridges. So on the next row we're going to place our washi tape above our row number 3, because our next row is row number 3, and this is our dark row, because you see our salvage stitch here indicates that this will be our dark row. And again we will only worry about the stitches that are marked F, and you see, because we are on a dark row, the dark on dark boxes are marked F. We will not pay attention whether it's a light box and we are on a dark row. We will work a double crochet into the back loop, US single crochet into the back loop of all those stitches that are not marked with F. When it's an F, we will work a treble, US double, okay? When there is an F, we will work a front loop treble, US double, and only the salvage stitches will be worked into the full 2 legs of the V, everything else into the back loop unless it's marked with F. So grab your contrast, make a slip knot. We're gonna start with a standing crochet, with a standing double crochet, US single crochet, and again we are on the right side, so we inserted a hook into the first stitch, you see the 2 legs of the first stitch, and work a double crochet, again US single. So if we look at our chart, our next stitch, it doesn't have an F, it's just a light stitch. We are on a dark row, we will work as a double crochet into the back loop. Then we come to our F. We've got a dark box on dark box marked F, which means that our treble, US double, will be worked into the row of the same color. So we're gonna go yarn around the hook. We're gonna place our stitch in the front loop of our next stitch and the row of the same color. Finish off the treble, US double as normal. Then we've got 1, 2, 3 stitches. That will be double crochets, US single crochet, into the back loop, 1, 2 and 3, and then again we have black box on black box marked F. So we're going to work a treble US double into the front loop of the row of the same color. And then 1, 2 stitches to the end of our repeat box. 1, 2, and then at the beginning of our repeat box we've got 1 stitch. So that's 1, and again we come to our F, which means we're going to place a treble US double. You see, so this is our next stitch, and the corresponding front loop is this one here. So make sure that those trebles are placed in front of all your stitches, so not over them, so don't ever enclose them. So like so, hold on, I'll show you. So don't enclose them like this. You see, they need to be placed into the front loop only and are in front of our stitch. You see, so again our stitch is behind and they are placed in front, and of course the stitch behind is missed. We don't do anything with this stitch anymore because that stitch belongs to that treble. Okay, so then we've got 1, 2, 3. We've got 3 stitches, so that's going to go into the back loop because there's no F on any of those boxes. And then we come to our F, which means it's a treble. And again, this is our next stitch. The front loop is literally underneath that stitch. And again, into the row of the same color. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 3 stitches into the back loop and 1 into the full, into the both loops. So 1, 2 and 3, and then we will work the last stitch into the 2 legs. So place your double crochet, US single crochet into the both legs. Catch your yarn around the hook, pull it through and tighten. You see? And you can see, as before, you are creating, so we have created those bridges here, and the little one are inside. And again, your chart is a visual representation of what you are making. So then if we move on to our next row, which is our row number 4, this is a light row. We're gonna work one more row together. So on our next light row, on row number 4, again starting with a standing double crochet, US single crochet, and our next stitch, we are on the light row. We've got the light box on light box with an F. It means we're going to place a treble, US double, front loop treble. I mean, you know, I'm shortening it, but it is a front loop treble and front loop double in US. So yarn around the hook, and again this stitch, and we're going to place our treble, US double, into the front loop of the corresponding stitch of the same color as our current row. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 stitches that have nothing on them. They are just normal stitches, which means we will work a double crochet into the back loop, US single crochet. So we've got 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And then we've got again light box on light box. We are on the light row. It has an F, which means it's a treble. So, or US double, yarn around into the front loop and work your stitch as normal, making sure that this stitch is placed in front of the one behind it. And then we've got one stitch before the end of our repeat box, and then we go at the front again, and here we've got again an F with light box on light box, which means it's a treble US double. So 1, 2, see, and then again 5 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now, very important thing to remember, it will be very easy for you to see if you have gone wrong anywhere. You will never have a treble placed over a treble. So if you made the treble on the last row, you will never have a treble on top of it on this row, because it's just impossible, because you need to go into the front loop of the stitches. So if you work in lines that there's a treble and you have to work a treble, there's obviously a mistake somewhere. Okay, again we are here now, so we're placing a treble, 1 stitch, so that's back loop. F means a treble, and then we finish off with a double crochet or a single crochet into the both legs of the last stitch. Yarn around, cut and pull it through. Okay, and that's it. That's all there is to it. You see, and you always work on the right side, so there is a less chance of making a mistake. Now on the next row, so your pattern repeats. So you see the box is here and your pattern repeat starts again at the bottom here. Of course, you don't have the same indication as you had with inset, because with inset you had the chain spaces left to where to enter all your trebles, US doubles. In here you don't. So it's always advisable to work the row above it, so work row number 5 and start your repeat again from row number 2. However, you will be able to see what's happening by the way your chart looks. So obviously, if you look at those boxes here, each box has to have a treble. And if you see, so this is the box here and it has a treble here. If you look at the 5 stitches in a row, they will have a treble in between them in the same color. So that will be that one here. So it's quite easy to actually see as well, but for the ease of everything, work the row above and start your repeat from row number 2. When you want to finish your work, you simply do a full row. When you need to place your trebles, US doubles, they are marked with F. Everything else is worked into the back loop of every single stitch, apart from the salvage stitches, which are worked into the both legs of the stitches. I hope that was clear and I hope you enjoyed this tutorials. Again, if you do have any questions, please do leave me a comment below. In my book, of course, I have given you full explanation of how to work the inset mosaic, and I also given you an explanation on how to work the overlay one as well, and Tunisian crochet one as well. Tunisian crochet we are going to do another time, but for now this is it. Let me just show you how to quickly adapt your charts from inset to overlay. So let's look at this chart. So we can add, so this is an inset mosaic chart, as you can see from the row numbers on each side. So if we get rid of them, we can adapt it easily for our overlay. So row number 1 obviously stays as it is, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We will only be working from right to left if you are left-handed, from left to right, but all we need is our numbers on one side only. So let's look at the rows. On the first row, of course, we will not be working any trebles because we have nothing to work them into. So the first row, it's a light row, and it will be worked with a double crochet, a single crochet into the back loop of every single stitch. So we don't have to worry about this at all. So we don't have to place any trebles here at all because there's nowhere to place them into. Row number 2 is a little bit different. So this is a dark row. So now what we have to look for is dark on dark square. When we've got dark on dark square, this is where our treble will be placed. So you see, our first stitch here after a salvage stitch is dark on dark square, so we will place an F here. The next 3 stitches don't interest us at all. These are just back loop stitches, back loop double crochet, with single crochet. Then we come to our dark on dark square again. So this is where our treble will be placed. In this chart, your foundation row is made in dark color. So those stitches will be worked into the foundation row, into your chainless like foundation row. We only look for dark on dark boxes because we are on a dark row. So we've got one more here where we will place an F. So this is where our front loop trebles will go, or front loop doubles in US. So then if we look at row number 3, this is a light row, which means that we will only look for the light on light boxes, because this is where we will put an F for our treble. So like you see, this one is light on light box, so we put an F here. Everything else is double crochet into the back loop. We only are interested in light on light boxes because we are on a light row. So again, F, F, and that's it for this row. On the next one, it's a dark row, so all we're looking for is a dark on dark box because that's where our treble needs to go. You see? So you see, when you're placing your treble will always have usually have a height of 3 dark boxes or 3 light boxes on top of each other, because your actual treble is worked into this row. This row you are omitting because it's a light row, it's an in-between row. And this is the row you are on now. You see, when you go in here, you will have a lot longer. So you see, when you place your treble here, it's actually placed into this row here. This stitch here, so this treble on this row will be placed into the front loop of that treble. Okay, I hope that is making sense. So again, we've got dark on dark box here, and we're gonna place an F here. So then on the light row, on our next row, we only look for the light on light boxes because that's all we care about. See, so again, we place an F here. Our treble is actually worked into the front loop of this row here, and this one is the in-between row. And then we've got one more here. Okay? I hope that is making sense. Please, as I said, ask in comments if you have any questions at all. I'll be more than happy to answer. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you find those 2 videos very useful and you will love your Inset and Overlay mosaic. They are both amazing. I have to say, when I'm working in the round, I will use Overlay all the time. But when I will use Inset when I'm shaping, when I'm working something that as I said, requires a lot more shaping, and I don't want to have a lot of ends to weave in, or I don't have to enclose them in an envelope border. But do experiment with both. They are both amazing techniques and really worth knowing. So thank you so much for watching. If you have liked this video, then please do like, share and subscribe and leave me a comment. Thank you so much. Bye.